Was just a humble, just a great, just a great kid. Not perfect by any means, but no drugs, no guns, no gangs, no real problems. I think the most issues we had was him finding his way, or what he wanted to do without football, because football had been his whole life. Um, about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, Deontay got an offer from USF, University of South Florida, to play football on a full ride scholarship. And for the last couple of years prior to that, he was saying he was over it, didn't want to play, but he got this offer. So, being that this is my youngest child out of three boys, I was like, well, I'm coming with you. I've had enough of Atlanta, and we're going to do this together. And we moved here. We moved to Tampa, Florida. And Deontay was very introverted. Didn't go out much, even though he was a jock, considered a jock. He was always very quiet, very humble. Didn't like accolades, didn't like attention, um, but always wanted to be inside the house on that game. So I encouraged him. I said, "We're in a new state. I would like for you to get out, and we don't live far from Ybor City. I saw a lot of people your age down there. Look safe. Get out. We're in a new place. Make friends." And he took me up on that offer. And one night he decided to go out with I don't know who the person is, but I guess someone he had met. And next thing I know is the next day I received a call stating that my son was on life support. I couldn't even imagine. You're like, what do you mean? I've never known Deontay to even have had a fight in his life. Being this big football player and all state, all American. I've never known him to have an altercation, have a fight. He was just so quiet, so humble. And to hear that he's on life support was just, so I ran to the hospital and I found out that while my son was standing outside on the street minding his business, that someone intoxicated ran out of a club and just punched him in his head, and he hit the
Wow.
concrete and was left brain damaged. So my
Wow.
son stayed alive. I tried to keep him alive for his dad, for his family to get to the hospital from New York, and for his brothers to get there, because no one could really understand. One punch, mom. What do you mean? There's no way he's gone. Like, you're exaggerating. You're dramatic. It's no way. And I just tried to keep him alive till everybody got there. Deontay coded twice, which was so scary to know his heart actually stopped. And one thing about Deontay that we always discussed is that he wanted to be an organ donor. As a
Mm.
mom, I never really wanted to have that conversation or hear that,
Right.
because you never think your child is going to go before you. But he
Mm-hmm.
always was like, Mom, you just can help so many people. I want to be an organ donor. And I was like, you're just doing it so you can have a cheaper driver's license. And he was like, no, for real, I want to be an organ donor. So anyway, he did have that on his driver's license. So I had to honor that. And so when his family came and everybody got to see him, and we spoke to doctors, and three doctors had to tell us there was no brain activity, I knew that I had to make this unselfish decision, because I would have just wanted to keep him like that. Just at
Mm-hmm.
home, and I'll just take him his food, and he'll still be my baby, and but my son was just an athlete, and there was just no way I could just see him like that for the rest of his life. So I had to make that
Right.
unselfish decision to take him off life support. And what a I mean, the hardest decision I think, I hope and I pray that I ever will ever have to make in my life. And this has just changed it's just changed our family dynamic forever.
Right.
Um,
How
like I
old
said, I have
was
two older.
how
Oh,
old was he?
he was 25 years old when this occurred. So we're
Okay.
going on 2 years. September 26th would be 2 years to the date that this happened. Carolyn, you were a big influence in my son's life. I have so many memories with him at your house, and just so many memories, but our lives will just never be
Forever
the
be
same.
connected. Yes.
Yeah, it'll just, I don't know how to get through. I think sometimes I just put on a facade, which is easier.
Mm-hmm.
I had someone ask me a few weeks ago, so you still grieving? When do you think you're gonna stop grieving? And I just couldn't believe that they would say that.
I can't either.
But at the same time, I have to I'm trying to understand because I'm trying. Doesn't always work. That if you never walked in these shoes, you can't possibly understand. But I would just hope for, even if you can't empathize, for people to be able to sympathize.
Exactly.
You
I
know,
agree.
and
Because
now
sometimes
you
people
have a
don't know what to say. They just try
they
to
don't know what
provide
to say.
comfort. And sometimes you just want them to listen. Just don't say anything. I know I do.
Exactly.
You
Yes,
know.
Carolyn, bingo. You hit it on the head. So now we
Right.
in an ugly shoe club. I have a new brother. I have a new
Mm-hmm.
sister, and well, Carolyn,
Yes, you
you
do.
always been my sister, but we hadn't spoke for years, and
I
I
know.
would still love to catch up with you, but not under these circumstances.
Oh,
But
exactly.
yeah,
And
but
I would like to
every
say, and I would like to say really quick, Dion, that if anyone knows Dion, and Tay Tay is what she called him, as she stated, we've known each other for years. However, our kids played the same position, so they were all. It was always a little something there, and you can see her running up and down the field with her cowbell and yelling, "Go, Tay Tay, go!" If you can't hear no other parent, you can hear Dion. And Tay Tay knew his mom was there. She made sure it was known. And so that's something that I remember always. I can still hear her voice right now today. She didn't care who said what. She was going to cheer for her baby. And that's what I
I
remember the
still was,
most. So,
I still was. They
so
say
that
you
brings
better
a
hit
smile.
somebody. So yes,
Exactly. You better hit
yes,
somebody. I mean,
you better hit
you could
somebody.
have sworn his mom was out there playing. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's really what I remember. Now Dion, the night when Tay left, of course you had no idea that would be the last time that you and him would ever speak. You just thought like any other day he was going and he was coming
Right.
back home.
Yep.
It was something. And so when you saw him, again, that I'm sure that when did you see him? That next evening, that next
The
day, or
next, the
when
next,
did you?
the next day, I didn't even know what happened because we didn't know anyone here, so they didn't know how to contact us. They thought he was from Ohio or
Right.
Michigan.
Oh
I don't know why
wow.
he had a license on him, but
Uh,
I think he still might have
okay.
had the Georgia license. So I don't know. They couldn't
Okay.
contact me, so I saw him the next day laying in that hospital bed, and there was a detective outside of his room. And the
Mm-hmm.
first thing he did was give me his card, and it said homicide. And I was
Mm.
like, "It's not a homicide. My child's still alive. Why you?"
Right.
And then, this is before even seeing a doctor. And then I met the brain surgeon, the neurologist, and he just was like, not very empathetic. I realized sometimes it's a cultural thing where they're from, but he was just straight
Right.
to the point. There's no hope. There's no hope. And I still feel like I'm in a fog,
Now let me ask you
Carolyn.
this. I know you had stated that he was an organ donor. Do you think, and I've heard different people say things about that, do you think that that may have had any type of relevance on the approach they were taking? Or do you think that they were doing everything that they could? Because I've heard mixed things about that.
You know what? That is, I mean, you have hit it on the head. I don't know. I kept asking people because I'm not from here. Was Tampa General a good hospital? And from what I was told, is the number one trauma hospital in Tampa. But from the time I walked in and saw my son, every day they were like on me, like to me, like vultures, to the point where I had to
Mm-hmm.
kind of go off on them a little bit and have my son
Mm-hmm.
have to take over that conversation with them.
Right. And I've heard,
Because
yeah,
it was
I've
too
had that
much. It was like
experience.
they don't care about him living; they just want these organs. And
Exactly. And
it was
that's
a
the reason
lot.
I ask you that, because I know someone else that had a parent that felt that way when their son passed. it's like the doctors were constantly asking about donating the
Yeah,
organs. He's not going to make it. And you're like, as a parent, you're like, hey, do everything you can to save my child. And they're
yeah,
like, well, it's
save my
nothing, no brain
child.
activity, no brain activity. It's like they just wanted the organ. So I was wondering if you ever felt that way during the
I
process.
sure did. I sure did. It was a horrible experience because I in the back of my head, and still to this day, I would think like, did they do everything, or did they want
Could they
these
do
organs
more?
to save somebody
Right.
else? And
Exactly. And you'll never
it's just been
know.
a really difficult ordeal. Sometimes it feels like it just happened yesterday.
I know.
It just
I know.
it's
I
just an
know.
emotional roller coaster that I don't know. I sometimes I feel like I'm alone in it. I know that there's other parents out here, but I don't being I'm an only child, I don't have any siblings. My parents are both gone, my grandparents are gone, all deceased.
Right.
It's just
Mm-hmm.
really, really his brothers handle it a different way. Maybe if I would have had a daughter, but the brothers are very quiet about it. I guess every day I want somebody to say his name. And they're
Mm-hmm.
the opposite. They don't want to talk about it really.
Right. Right.
And I used to be upset with them, but I had to realize everybody handles grief differently.
Right.
And the way
They
they
do.
handle theirs is to suppress their grief.
Mm-hmm.
But me as a
Mm-hmm.
mother, I want his name to be shouted to I have on my T-shirt, and I want his name to be shouted to the mountaintop every day, every day, every day. So
Right.
it's just really hard dealing with this. I still can't believe he's gone, and I thank you for this platform to be able to tell his story, our
Absolutely not.
story, and it's just really difficult.
Now let me ask you this: the person that actually committed the awful crime, what happened with him or her?
So it was a young man who was 32 years old, I believe, at the time. He had never been in trouble before. He was from up north, kind of like us. His story very similar to us. He was an athlete. He played for, I think he played for the University of Arizona. Um, with
Mm-hmm.
COVID, court was very much delayed,
Mm-hmm.
and it just kept being virtual court. He ended up getting out on a $200,000 bond, and then court was
Wow.
always delayed. And then he said he had COVID. His lawyer had COVID. So finally, May 26, 2021, he was offered a plea deal that I did not agree upon. I was
Mm-hmm.
not told. The initial DA that I had in my case was in the military, so she was deployed. So I had her
Oh.
boss, and they
Mm-hmm.
offered him 7 years. And there
Seven
was no
years.
way. I mean, the charge, unfortunately, was manslaughter instead of murder, too, because they're saying he didn't mean to kill my child. He punched him, but he did not have intent to kill. But there's no way that I would have went for 7 years when my child lived 25 years. At least I felt like he should have got the 25 years that my son was on this earth, something. But
At least. And
he,
that was it.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm
I
sorry.
said, and that was it. They never gave you any other option. It was just that here's the
No
plea
other
deal.
options.
And did you
No.
let them know that you did not want to accept it? And they,
Yep, and they said that they had some kind of statute here, some kind of thing where they have a list, and because he had not, they didn't feel like he was a threat to society and had never had, didn't have any priors, that this is just what had to happen. I actually received
wow.
a call yesterday from Vine. Vine is a program that lets you know if the um I don't know what to call him. To me, he's a murderer. If he's out of
Mm-hmm.
jail, if he's on bond, I signed up for this when he first got arrested, so I would know his
Mm-hmm.
movements. And
Okay.
yesterday, I received a call out the blue. I did not know it was them. It was the 800 number, and I was like, "Who keeps calling me?" And I answered it, and it was them telling me that he has been moved. So I guess he was here
Okay.
at the county jail. So
Mm-hmm.
effective yesterday, he's moved to some jail in Florida, and I was so thrown off by the call and when they
Mm-hmm.
said his name, that I just couldn't even, my son, everybody was like, "Well, where did he go?" And I was like, "I can call the number back." It said to call
Mm-hmm.
back if you have any questions, but I couldn't even take in that information because just hearing his name, his best friend's
Oh
name
yeah.
in life was Justin, and his killer's name is Justin. So just to hear
Oh.
that name, it's just
Oh gosh, I know.
Just horrible. Yep, his best friend since fifth grade name is Justin,
Wow,
and his killer is Justin. So
what are the chances
I
of
don't know.
that?
Yeah,
Well, I know it's very difficult. I know it's something
yeah,
that you
it
have to
is.
live with every day, and because I know how much you love that boy, and you still
Yes,
do love
yes,
him. You still
I
do.
do.
I
I
know
got
you
three
do.
kids, but it was a special. It was a. I won't even say I have three kids, and Lord knows you love all your children, but maybe because
Exactly.
they were so much older than Tay, 7 and 9 years, that we
Mm-hmm.
just have a special bond. And I just, I feel like he kind of did everything right. So why would God let this happen to him? So I just have so much that I go through daily, like I'm sure we
Oh
all
yeah.
do. So many
Mm-hmm.
unanswered questions where you have to kind of lean on your faith and not
Oh,
on your own
exactly.
understanding.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, I
Exactly.
have no understanding.
Yeah. And you
I
kind
have
of
no
go through
understanding.
life. You kind of try to make it make some sense somewhere, and you just can't do it. and
You
and
just
you're
can't
often
do
it's they often state, don't question God, and you don't really, it's not that you're questioning, but you are definitely wondering,
it. Yeah.
like,
Why my child?
why my
Why?
child,
Why my child? Like,
and
I mean, why anybody's child? But sometimes, if you have children out here that, you have to keep praying for and hope that you get them out of gangs and selling drugs and on the streets. But my
he was
kid
not one of those
he didn't do
children.
none of that.
Never
He
seen him
didn't
do
do any of
anything
that.
but smile. I've never seen him do anything but smile. I don't even
No,
remember
he
him
didn't
raising
even.
his
And it, like,
voice.
even with football, Carolyn, it was me, the
I
one
know
that
that needed the
he was
helmet
never
on.
even. It was me. He was never even. I
Yeah.
used to be like, "You're not mad." He was never even like, "Mom, it's just a game. We're all having
Yeah.
fun." He always just
Right.
had that attitude on life. For such a
Yeah.
young little boy, he never
He
was
was.
angry
Yeah.
with your son, with LeBron. He never was. He just always had. So God, why would you take this one?
I know. You just,
So
some things in life, I think it's just we'll never have an answer to. We just have to, I have this little saying. I say, God doesn't move all mountains. You have to ask Him for the strength to go around them. Because all
that's
mountains
a
in our
good
lives
one.
are not meant to be moved. And I just kind of made it up in my head one day. I say, Lord, I don't know. Some mountains you can't move. Because, everyone always teaches us to ask God to come in and move your mountains and things like that. But in life, really, some mountains are not meant to be moved. Sometimes you have to ask God for the strength to go around them so you can continue to live, because that's what He would want you to do. You know what I mean? So I understand. If anybody knows, I know. We didn't expect to come back together in this way, but you never
No.
know how things and
And
how
you have
life is
been
going to
such a
take you.
blessing. You have. I
Thank you.
mean, just out of
I
all the
try.
teams he's played on, all the parents I've met, all the people I've met since I moved to Atlanta, you were the one that I hadn't seen in 10 years. And for you just to call me and help me arrange everything and just step up. I mean, that's still to me, like, I have to sit here and be like, she really did all of this. And I always knew you were a good person, but when I say you showed out with this one, you just,
I appreciate
you and
it.
your husband and your daughter and your son, I mean, the love, just love and
Absolutely.
humanity and just seeing the best in people. And y'all did exactly you did exactly what Tay would have told me you probably would have did. And the person that he was, because he always tried to get me to see the best in people. And
Right.
when I tell you, I thank you so very much for everything.
Right. Well, you are absolutely welcome. I pray I never have to do that type of favor again. But if anything in life you need, I am absolutely here for you. Because I know we're always connected. We're always connected on this unfortunate situation. So I thank you, and I appreciate you being
Yeah,
able to speak about your son,
thank
because I
you.
know you loved him and you still love him
Yeah,
so very much. And
yeah,
I'm gonna go on to Ike. I appreciate you being here, as stated earlier. I think originally, it's Curve Uncensored. I'm a one woman show, but I think I forgot to make us go live at first. But it's okay. We live now. I realized that when Dion put the picture up, I'm like, oh man, let me go live. But I'm doing it all myself, and I got my glasses on, not my contacts, trying to work it out today. But anyway,
Well, you
I
good, And
Thank
as
you.
Dion stated, I appreciate you giving me this platform, and I appreciate you,
Absolutely.
and I wish you much success in the future.
Thank you.
And, I'm glad to
Thank
be
you.
here with y'all sharing this because I really haven't talked about it a lot
Mm-hmm.
since my son died in that accident. But I raised my son to fear God, to do everything right, and
Right.
Dion and son and your son Carolyn, he was great at football. He loved football. And the only time I ever seen my son get mad is when I wouldn't allow him to play football. And the only reason I didn't allow him to play football because his grades went from A's to D's. And I said,
Oh, okay.
well, your education comes first. But he didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand that at first.
Right.
So, through the years, he understood that he had to have sense, common
Mm-hmm.
sense, and brain, sense to be able to
Right.
make it in life. But
Right.
he was a great kid, looked just like me. I'm talking about my twin.
I was gonna say I looked on your Facebook. I was like, that is his twin from back in the day.
Yeah, just looked just like me. Every bit of me was him. And I was gonna bring a picture, but I forgot the day was the day that we were supposed to do everything. That's my
Oh,
mistake. I apologize for that. But
that's okay.
like Dion said, I never forget that day, August the 12th. Lord Jesus, I was in here cutting hair, and my son's girlfriend came in and said that it was bad. I said, "What's bad?" And she said, "It's bad." So I said, "What's bad?" So she said, "He's been in an accident." So I was like, "Oh man!" So it, you know, she told me that it happened in Savannah. So I was on the road going to Savannah. Come to find out, it happened in a little small town right here on the outside of Jacksonville called Auburn. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had to change directions to go there and get there. And when I got there, they worked on him. But when I got there, he was gone. So when I got to the hospital and I seen the look on everybody's face, I was like, Lord Jesus. But I went inside and I seen him laying there on that gurney. And like you said, the first thing that the people said to me was about he was a kidney donor
Organ
and
donor. Mm-hmm.
organ donor, and they wanted to, get his organs, and they wanted us to give them permission to get
Mm-hmm.
it. And
Mm-hmm.
me having an attitude because here I am looking at my son laying up on this gurney dead, and the first
Right.
thing you want to ask me about is some organs. I
Right.
went off.
Mm-hmm.
I snapped because I'm angry.
Right.
So I was dealing with all these different emotions. So I just walked out. And my wife and my daughter and all of them, they was in there trying to deal with it. So in my mind, I said, what I need to do is that I need to be the man and go in here and try to comfort them,
Mm-hmm.
even though I'm hurting. I know it's different when it's a mother's love.
Right.
Even though I'm a father and I love deeply, but I know that connection between mother and kid is way stronger. So
Yeah.
I say I need to get in here and try to comfort my wife and my daughter and everybody because I know
Mm-hmm.
they're dealing with this on a different emotional scale than I am. So
Mm-hmm.
we got to do all of that. And, I got one of my classmates to get the body because we wasn't donating. Because I felt like Carolyn, I've heard the stories about people going around harvesting
Right.
people's organs and all of that, and I wasn't going to let my son be a part of it because I didn't know if y'all did enough to save his life. Because
Mm-hmm.
from what was described to me was when he ran into the back of that bus, the first thing that he did was jump out of his vehicle, ran
Right. That's what I
into
heard.
the side of the bus, got all the kids out of the bus, and then once he got
Mm-hmm.
all the kids out of the bus, he collapsed. So
Hmm.
I was still trying to figure out, how was he able to do all that? And all of a sudden now he's dead. So
Right.
I couldn't wrap my mind around all of that. So I wasn't about to let nobody take his kids. You know what I mean?
Right.
So after we got him back, that's when things really, because I started blaming myself because I
Mm-hmm.
said, well, maybe if I would have just let him stay home longer, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
this wouldn't have happened. That wouldn't have
Right.
happened. So I blame myself for a long time for everything that happened. And
Right.
it took, and sometimes right now to this day, I still kind of blame myself for him
Mm-hmm.
passing because I feel like sometimes I pushed it too fast to
Mm-hmm.
go out and, try to make a way for himself. And I felt like, but, he was 25, and that's another reason why I started crying when Dion said, I said, because, dang, my son died at 25 also. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Mm-hmm.
man, but, you know,
You feel like they have so much living to do, you know?
yeah, but I said to myself, I said, God is not going to put no more on us than what we can bear. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what God got in store for me in this one, but I said, God, whatever it is, I just want you to do what you got to do and just get me
Right.
to understand because it's hard for me to understand why. And when you say it's something that it's an everyday thing, every day I think about my son every minute of
Every
every
day.
day. And I
Every
try,
day.
and there be times that I try not to think about it, but it's impossible
Mm-hmm.
because I think about it every day. I'm talking about every minute, every day. I think about
Mm-hmm.
somebody can just say something that triggers
Mm-hmm.
a thought
Yep.
about him, or
Yep.
laugh, or a song. And here I am dealing with all these emotions again.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it's kind of even hard thing talking about it,
Yeah.
Do,
which
do
is
you
one of the
so
reasons that I agreed to do this show is because I felt like I just needed to try to talk to somebody about
well
it.
that's
So that,
yeah, because there are a lot of people that have the same experience, and even though you have, in my opinion, you have family and friends around. I know without me I couldn't make it without my family and friends, but unless you've actually experienced that, you really don't know how it feels. Sometimes, I've even had a situation where a friend had a very difficult time dealing with, my daughter's passing. And I would find myself every time I'm on the phone, I would bring something up about my daughter or talk about her, and I would just start crying. And she asked me, she said it was hard for her to hear about it. So I respected that, and I stopped talking to her particularly about it. And I felt mixed about it because I was like, you know, sometimes you just have to let a person vent and just hear you. I know it's difficult for the next person, but I'm the one that lost my child, and you kind of like, man, I want you to hear what I'm
yeah,
saying. You need somebody who would just listen. And I do have that best friend that does that, Brenda. She will listen to me all day and all night. My friend Chris, he prayed for me. He'll listen to me all day and all and all night. But some people, they just can't take it, and you have to respect that. But so I've ran into different scenarios. But if you don't understand and you can't relate unless you've actually experienced that
Yeah.
unfortunate situation. And I'm so
yeah.
sorry, of course.
Chris has been a good help for me also.
Oh yeah, he's a great friend to
Yeah.
have in your back pocket, right?
Yes, Lord.
And I thank you too, Ike, for sharing that. I know it was very difficult for both of you all, and I truly appreciate it. You just don't know, for being part of my
Ike,
first
when did this
show.
happen? Ike, when did this take
My,
place?
August the 12th just passed with 1 year. Just
Yeah,
one
it
year
was within a
anniversary.
year.
Okay.
So we are 2 years out, and hits was within a year, just a year, right? It was just a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Just a year.
just a
We
year.
just
I
passed
remember
that.
seeing.
Just had
Yeah, I
just
saw
had his
something. I
first
think
year
on.
anniversary.
Yeah,
Yeah, when
I
he said
think I saw
August
it on
12th, I
Facebook.
was thinking like, oh my gosh, did this happen 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. But
Oh
even a
no.
year, it's just, I mean, a
Oh,
Yeah,
year, I was
just like it
still,
was
it's
yesterday.
still it's still fresh.
yeah.
Just
And you
like it
know
was
what? You're gonna
yesterday.
hate those anniversary dates. You hate, like, you
Yeah,
especially, the birthdays, the holidays. It's like before you found
Mm-hmm.
yourself, I'm a person, I love Christmas. I love Christmas. I love the joy. I love giving. I love every part of it. That was his favorite holiday. But now I find myself dreading that this month is
Mm-hmm.
about to end, even though I got another
Mm-hmm.
son whose birthday is Saturday.
Uh-huh.
Beyonce's birthday tomorrow, son's birthday Saturday. But I know that their birthday's at the end, and then I'm gonna have September 1st, and that 26 is gonna be
Mm.
there. You know what I mean? So and so I'm just
Mm.
then I got what do you do on these days?
Right.
Everybody's you celebrate his life, you have I'm in a place where I don't have anybody really around me that I know. So
You
like
know what,
what do you
Dion?
do?
We're gonna talk about that in a few minutes because I want to get you guys' opinion on that. I'm gonna
Okay.
tell you really quick
I'm gonna
about
Can you move Erica over for us so we can see her
can you
picture?
see you oh see I thought you guys could see her. Can you
No,
see her
thank
now?
you.
Oh,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
see my screen shows me that you guys can see her. Is
No,
that
thank
better?
you.
Okay. Um all right, this is my baby. Well, it's actually my oldest daughter, but she was my baby for many, many years. And I know initially I didn't go live, but I thought I was live, but I wasn't. So just to kind of reiterate a little bit of how my introduction went to the show, I was speaking about how we go about our day doing our routines, and when things take us off our normal track, it's out of order, And when you lose a child, it's just out of order. No parent expects to bury their child, and so that's kind of how I started the show, but I don't think it recorded. But at any rate, for me, I was the particular morning when I got my call, I was in bed and I remember saying, whoa, I had a good night's sleep. I can remember it so well. I said, I sure enough feel good today. I don't know what it was about the sleep that night. I just felt like I rested well. So I got up and my sister and I think we're going to get together or something. I can't really remember. But I remember getting a phone call. I want to say from my sister, my nephew said someone had contacted him and told him that my daughter's car was in an odd place. And just to kind of digress a little bit and go back, Erica has 3 boys, and she loved her boys. She was always a hard-working mama, and she had applied for graduate school. I had written a nice letter for her. She had gotten approved, and she was always so, so smart. She would help anybody, anyone. She would help anyone, almost to a fault. I would always tell her she was too kind to people. And a lot of the people she was kind to, she really didn't need to be kind to, if you ask me. And I would always try to break her out of it because I'm not that nice. I'm just not that nice. And I'm glad because the people that are closest to her are the one that can hurt you the most. So she was dating this guy. Long story short, had been dating him long. And I don't know what really transpired, but something happened that night. And he took her life. He knew her children. He had spent time with her children. I had even met him once or twice. I didn't know him well. I never liked him. You know how as a parent, you just get this vibe about somebody you just don't like. I just did not care for him. And one of our last conversations, I was telling her he needed to go. I was trying to get him to go. But when they're adults, what can you do? But I didn't think he was going to be around long. I thought she would kick him to the curb, But I don't know what happened. All I know is that he ended up taking her life. And in my opinion, I thought that he was going to try to move her body. But God stepped in and he couldn't. And my sister called me and told me her car was in an odd place. And he had put her in the car and was going to try to go somewhere, but the car wouldn't go. And so I'm thanking God that it didn't go, And I was able to. I know I couldn't identify anybody. I know I couldn't. And I ended up had given them some descriptions of tattoos and stuff to verify that it was her. And because she had 2 tattoos with my name on it. And because we were so close. And we, for me, unlike, I already know the answer, but the audience doesn't know the answer. I was fortunate enough to have grandchildren. You know, I'm not. Explain. Do you all have grandchildren? Either one of you?
No.
Okay.
Well, not from, I have grandchildren from other children, but not. Tay was 25, and I used to always say to him, "Ooh, you're so spoiled. Please don't have no kids." And he used to say, "Mom, I want to be married. I want to be with this one person for the rest of my life." And I was so, so glad he had that
Right.
attitude about himself.
Right.
So
Right.
he never
Right.
had any children, and now
Never
I
had any
wish.
children. That
I
he
wish.
had. Well, yeah. What about you, Ike?
No, he didn't, but I wish.
Yeah. And people
Yeah, I
always seem
wish.
to think because you have other children that at least you have another child. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that because every child is
I
special in their own, they're
Yeah,
unique and special, whether you have one or you have a house full, you know. And I
yeah.
have my grandchild, my grandson looks just like her. And I have custody of him and I have custody of my older grandson. And I say the youngest one is her twin. He's so loving and he hugged me so much, just like she did. She would kiss you with those wet kisses. Every time she would give me a kiss, I said, Erica, you have the wettest kisses. She said, oh, mommy, you know, and she had the wettest kisses, you know, and he has wet kisses just like her. And I almost feel like if you see him, he looks identical. I mean, he's just a boy. And you know, so I thank God that she left me to my grandkids, you know, but it
yeah,
doesn't replace her, you know.
it doesn't at all.
And sometimes people wonder, they say, well, if a child is, tell me what you guys think about it. If a child is sickly and then they pass as opposed to something happening tragically, do you think, in your opinion, it's a difference? You know, like if you
I
have a
would
chance to
have to.
prepare.
I would have to. I've been faced with that. So when this first happened, everybody says go to grief counseling, right? Go to grief counseling. You need to talk to somebody. So I
Right,
found grief counseling down here in Tampa. So when I walked in, I had to like interview for the grief counseling.
right.
I just want to make
Oh,
sure you're not going to go crazy. So I had to not go off on other parents, and you have to know the rules. And one of the rules
okay,
was don't compare your grief to others. And I
okay.
heard everything you said, so I'm signed up. I'm ready to go in grief counseling. So when it was
Uh
my day
huh.
to go, I went in there. There was a lady who had lost her child about 12 years old to cancer, and then there
Okay.
was another couple that their son was about 50, and he just didn't wake up one day.
Oh
And
wow.
to be
Okay.
honest with you, as I listened to their stories and we introduced ourselves, I understood why the grief counselor told me one rule of the group is do not compare your grief,
Right.
because I was sitting there like, okay, well, to me, I don't know, murder is a difference than your child was cancer. You
Right.
had time to know, you had time to prepare.
Prepare
You
and
know, you
say
people, y'all got
goodbye.
50 years. My son was 25, and I never went
Right.
back to this
Right.
particular grief counseling. But now that was 2 years ago. So as time goes by now, I realize that I think if God forbid if Tay would have been in a car accident like Ike's child, I wouldn't it would have still been just as bad. But now to
Right.
sickness where I had time, I don't know, because like I said, you never get this until you put those shoes on. So if
Never.
Tay would have been in a car accident, I still think that would have been traumatic for me,
Oh,
because there was something
absolutely.
about Tay where he never really wanted to, here you are, this big man on campus, and you never want to
Right.
drive. But I got in a
Right.
car accident with him when he was young, so I thought I did something to him. But Derek used to be like, "You're not pushing him to be a man. He need to be a man and man up." And I used to
Mm-hmm.
tell myself, God forbid if this kid gets in an accident and he always just didn't want to drive, but here I am, his chauffeur. So we're gonna have to
Right.
come to a
Right.
meeting place. But I always figured Tay, something would happen that he would be in a car accident because he just never liked driving. And his friends would laugh at him because he'll be in the
Mm-hmm.
back seat putting on a seatbelt at
Uh
18,
huh.
19, because it was just something always
He is
scary to him
paranoid.
about a car.
Right.
So
Right.
I try not to compare as I'm in this journey now. I try not to compare my grief, but there's
Mm-hmm.
just something about a car accident to me is kind of right there, and then it's murder. But the people that have kids that were sick, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, who am I to say that cancer, whatever, leukemia,
Because you
whatever,
see.
even somebody with a newborn. One lady was
Right.
like, "Well, I lost my baby too." And I was like, "Oh, how old?" And she was like, he was stillborn. And I was looking like, no, lady,
You,
you don't, that's no,
right,
I had 25 years.
right.
You didn't get
You
middle
look
school,
at it
but
because right, because you don't
yeah,
have, you feel like a newborn, you don't have an opportunity to connect
you didn't get
and
to
things of
know.
that
But
nature.
then
But
I had to
then you think those they lost out on having that
all
opportunity.
of that. Right,
Because
right.
they
So
look
just,
because then flip they look at us and say, well, God did give you 25 or 36, because my daughter was 36, give you 25 and 36 years, you do have
yeah,
grandchildren. So yeah, when you do compare, I can see, because no one, again, you don't really know unless you're in that person's shoes how it feels, because when everything for the animal that did that to my daughter, he ended up getting a life sentence with the
thank
possibility
you.
of
Thank
parole.
God.
I honestly didn't want him to get parole. Not, it's no guarantee. It's a chance, but I'm gonna write letters. I'm gonna do everything I can to keep his sorry ass right where
And I will
he is.
support you.
Because if you can take someone's life, it's nothing gonna stop you from doing it again. Nothing.
Right.
All that you
That's
can put them
right.
in. They go to jail and they can come back and
Rehabilitated.
they're rehabilitated and they'll come back being a citizen. Yeah, sometimes depending on what it is, but certain things when it comes to harming children and taking someone's life, that's a totally different category. Than that, those kind of type of people are raping someone of that. You need to sit your ass right there and think about what you've done to someone, because even
What
with
you got?
rape, you've taken someone's life, because if someone has been raped or you force yourself on someone, to me that you've taken that person's life, because it's still
I
their life is
agree.
still never the same.
I
So no, you need
agree.
to sit your ass. Why should you get out and enjoy your family and your friends, and you're a young man? I think he was like, I don't know, he was young in his 20s, late 20s. You're gonna still be young. Oh no, if God spare my life, I'm gonna write and keep his sorry ass right where he is.
And I
I
support you. I'll
would
write too. I'll
thank
be
you
at every
so much.
parole hearing, whatever you
Thank
have,
you.
because I wish that I would have had that. Now, I don't wish this young man would have got life. I don't wish that on him. At first, I did. At first, I did. And people tell me, I know y'all say it because y'all might be a little more religious than me. I'm finding my walk. I'm still I'm still a walk in
No,
progress.
I
But
guess me too. I
give
guess I
him.
am too. 'Cause I
I
don't
gotta. I know y'all here. Like I got everybody keeps telling me I need to forgive him so then I can move on. I'm not there yet. I'm just straight up and
uh-uh.
down. I'm not there yet. Now I didn't wish life on him because it was one punch, and I don't think intentionally. According to the video, which I've never watched, he was standing over him talking trash. So obviously, to the DA, that means he was still talking to him. That means he didn't mean to kill him. But he's
Hmm.
33. He'll be out in I think Florida, you have to do
Keep your
85% of your
hands to
time.
your damn
So
self.
he got really
Oh,
2
excuse
years.
me. I did say I wasn't gonna cuss on my show, but excuse me. Every now and then it will come out. Curvin system, we keep it real. Keep your hands to yourself, because you never
Yeah,
know when you hit someone what may happen. So your
yeah,
that's true.
unintentional hit cost someone his life. So why
yeah.
should you get out
And
here and be fancy free?
I
I don't
agree.
know.
And what really makes me feel like
No.
it wasn't a fight. Maybe if it was like a justifiable one-on-one or something, I could understand. But Tay's back was to this man.
Right.
So in
So
a
he's
way
a
that gives
sucker
me peace,
anyway.
in a way it
So
doesn't. It gives me peace to know that he didn't even see this coming. But in a way,
right.
it was totally unprovoked. You
Oh,
didn't
cause
even hear my son say a word. You didn't have an altercation with him, an
no,
argument, nothing. You were just
nothing.
intoxicated. So then a way that
Exactly.
gives me peace to know that he didn't even see what was coming and
Right.
he just
Right.
went, you know. But
Right.
then I'm so mad because like you said about Erica, Tay was so kind and nice
Right.
to a fault. He was just always so and I always told him, watch your surroundings, stop sleeping on,
And
he
they don't
as
listen.
my boyfriend, my other kids call him Green. They
Mm-hmm.
always been like, Ma, you shouldn't have raised him because they're brought up in New York. They always be like, you raised this green kid. He's so Marietta, Cobb County. He's so suburbs.
Right. Mhm.
He's so green. He don't know. And I really sometimes I blame myself as well forever because I encouraged him to get out.
I think that we all, don't you think you think we all have, like you said, you have some regrets. There are things
I
that you
got
wish
a
that you had
lot,
done different. And I think
there's a
that's
lot of things I
something that
wish.
we all have. I think we
Yeah,
all have that.
there's a lot of things I wish I would have done different. But if I would have done anything different, it would have took away all the memories that I share with my son. Because if I don't got nothing else, I got those memories. And to
That's
go
right.
back
Now,
a little further. Now, as far as like if somebody is sick, now you do have
mhm.
time to prepare for their death, but it's still death. You know,
I know.
it's
Right.
still your
And it's
child.
taking me.
When you lose that
Yeah, I
child,
think
it's
I had to
still
get through that anger. I had to get through
You
the
know,
anger,
yeah.
and now I'm understanding that in my journey. But 2 years ago, I was like, you had. I
Oh,
guess I felt like
I get you.
I got a call when my
yeah.
son was born. Then you had
Right.
I get
time
you.
to prepare yourself. But you know what? Death is still death. It's still your
Yeah.
child, and I can't
And
compare it because
someone's
I can't
lost.
walk anybody else's shoes.
Right. And
You know,
someone's lost.
now I can tell both of y'all this. See, both of y'all had y'all children taken away from y'all by the hands of somebody else. My son was an accident. But
Yeah.
I know for an absolute fact that if somebody would have took my child's life, I probably would have been trying to get into that prison or jail to get to him myself.
And you are
Because I would have
exactly
wanted their
right
life for my
to
life,
be over. And
for
you
their
know
life.
what? And that's so true. But the thing is about a coward, you can't get to them
Yeah,
because
you're right.
they be one step ahead. Oh, trust and believe. Oh, trust and believe.
Oh, I
Trust and
Trust and
know.
believe. That's
believe.
why we had that blind thing, so we could know where he was, what he was
You
doing.
know?
But he's so
Oh, trust.
scary. He had his
It,
address changed because I got
oh
other
yeah.
sons and they bout
Yeah.
it. But
Exactly.
he's so
You can't
Yeah.
get
scary.
to them. They be one step ahead of you. You could by first of all, you gotta think about when the act has happened and now you're finding out they're already steps ahead, planning what they're gonna do, how they're gonna do it, and when they're gonna do it, and who they're gonna do it with. So you know that you already in trying to play catch up. But if I feel like it should be in other countries, I feel like you should just like
Yeah. You
kill
kill
them
mine.
like you get if you hurt someone or you rape someone or you molest a child or you kill someone, then you need to serve the same punishment. You don't need to be
Yes,
around here
Lord.
sitting your behind in jail, getting big, eating food, seeing your people come in and visit you like you on a vacation. You know what I'm saying? And you counting your days and your time. No, you take someone like I'm all the way about it. I don't care who says so. I don't care. Yes, you need to get the same thing. Yeah, you sorry later. But if you had taken that time out to think about what you did before you did it, then maybe, you know what I'm saying, you wouldn't be sitting in jail. You can always walk away. So now you got time to think about it. Don't bring that person's child back or that person's loved one back.
Sometimes I have to catch myself. People always actually, man, you got to ask for forgiveness because in like in that Tyler Perry movie, they say, well, you got to wait on Jesus. Jesus don't take care. I say sometimes Jesus be taking too long. Let me take care. You know.
Let me take care of him. I know that's right. I know
Yeah.
that's right. It's
But
you know, and hindsight is always 2020. It's like you can sit back and say how you would do things or what you could have done differently, or you know, could I have? You feel like you let your children down, you feel like you as a parent. I think you know because we're gonna move forward into the next phase of this show. You know, where we think about how are we living now. Well, let me say, with me on a day to day, you always think about, you know, what you could have done differently. You feel like you let your children down. You should have been there to support them. You should have been there to protect them because that's what a parent is supposed to do. Do you guys ever experience those feelings?
I definitely
yeah,
experienced it. I just feel like it's kind of like I was trying to do what Ike was trying to do, but he didn't really have a dad there. But I've been with Derek for some years, and everybody always said Tay was coddled. I still cut his meat and cut his waffles, and everybody was like, "Why you still cut his meat at 25? Why you still cut his?" I coddled him, and I feel like if I would have had him a little more New York, like my other boy, he would have been looking around. He would have been more, he would be more aware of his surroundings. It's not a day that goes by that you probably don't ask yourself, what could you have done differently?
Done differently.
And like with you, I want to say that all I could see that you did is what I was trying to do, and I couldn't do it because it's hard to teach a man to be a man when you're not a man. And all you was doing was trying to teach him to be a man,
stand on
and
his
there was
own.
nothing wrong with what you was doing and making him self-sufficient. Because I always said, what if I close my eyes tomorrow? I used to tell Tay that. I always say, what if I close my eyes tomorrow? Because he couldn't, he was just really, he was really naive and immature. So, he just very, very dependent upon me. And I didn't know how to really break it. But people started telling me, if something happened to you, he not going to be able to just stay with other people rent free and just keep saying he figuring out his life.
Right.
My other sons were like trying to push him to go to the some kind of Coast Guard down here in Florida and go in the military or something, because they were like, Mom, if something happened to you, we not doing what you doing. You know what I'm saying? You're not
Mm-hmm.
raising him right to be nobody's husband. So in
Right.
hindsight, I would have had him maybe a little more street savvy instead of me picking him up till he was 20 something years old and driving him everywhere. And
Yeah.
But like what Ike was saying, that he constantly thinks about what he could have done differently. If you had a chance, what are some of the things you think about?
Well, the only thing that I probably would have done differently was I would have pushed him to go back to college instead of letting him drive truck, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what I did. I was driving truck,
Oh,
and
okay.
I guess he wanted to be like me so bad.
yeah,
And when he came
Right.
home from college, he said, "Dad, I'm going back." He said, "Let me take a year." And the next thing I
Mm-hmm.
know, 1 year led into 2 years, and then he met
hmm
this chick, and then it was just like he was more focused on the chick than he
yeah,
was on anything else. See, but I had the power at that time to force him to go back to college.
Right.
That's the
Right.
only thing I wish I would have changed, but
Right.
hey,
But you know
it
what?
has happened now, so
Right, and life happens. Being a parent doesn't come with a book. None of us get it right the first time. We don't. We learn this thing as we go. You know what I mean? We
yes,
all look back and say what we could have done. I was a young parent. I was very, very young. I had
yeah, I
Erica
know.
pretty much grew up with me. So that's going to be one of my shows as well, because there are a lot of things you can do even though you do start young. But I didn't know anything. I was blessed enough to have my mother, thank God, and my family to help me, excuse
Yes,
me, along the way. Her father was instrumental, but he wasn't physically there, but he was instrumental. She was had a close relationship. And then I had my loving husband who's been there a lot, most of her life. So I was able to put myself in different environments. But being a parent doesn't come with a book. We do our best and we hope the best for our children. But at the end of the day, they can be doctor, a lawyer, Indian chief. When God say that's it, then there's nothing that we can do.
yeah,
You
that's
know.
it. That's it.
So at the end of the day, some things in life, like I say, that mountain that we can't move, we have to ask God for strength to go around. And I know for me, I would like us to talk about how we're dealing with it, because we'll talk about this forever and ever. And I wanted us to
Yes.
kind of talk about how we're dealing with it now. I know for me, I deal with keeping my daughter alive. I try not to think about her not being here. That's just not. I go and talk to her little picture every day, and I give her a kiss on the cheek, because I always used to kiss her on the cheek, because she used to kiss me on the cheek or hug me. And so I talk to her, and I hear her voice. People think I'm crazy. I'm not. We were very close, and so I just try to keep her in the present. I try not to think of her not being here, because when I do, that makes me sad. So I try to think about what she would want me to do, because we were so close. And I try to make decisions for her children based on how I think she would have them do certain things. So for
Yeah.
me, I think that has helped me. Just try not, live like she would want you to live or he would want you to live, and keep them alive in your heart, and take it day by day. It's not something that we will never get over, but it's something that we will be able to live with them as far as keeping them alive in our heart. What about you, Dion, before we close?
Um, I think the same. I think I don't like to talk about him in the past tense.
Right.
It's kind of hard for me because I think, Carolyn, you have like so many, you have younger children.
Ooh,
And I
yeah, I
think
do.
like Leasia, I'm always looking at Leasia, and I think, and then your posts, I think the difference, like girls and boys, I'm really noticing now. You have,
Uh-huh.
sometimes I'm slick jealous again because I look and I'm like, oh, she got all these beautiful posts from Erica. You know what I mean? I only got one
Yeah.
post from Tay. But,
He
he
was
was
a boy
younger.
though. He was a boy. He was a
Yeah,
boy.
he was a boy. So
Yeah.
I I think, yeah, I look at that and I'm always like, oh my goodness, I'll do anything for one post. Hey, and he hated social media.
Yeah.
So like he has this picture on there that I used to be like, what picture is this? And he was like, Mom, I just don't like it. I think people are not themselves. And he never was on it. He hated it. So I don't know
He
why
was
he
kind of
hated it.
shy.
But
He was
I
a
guess,
kind of shy child to me anyway.
yeah,
Kind of
I
shy.
just, you see, I get shoes made, like everything I get, I have like face masks. Let's see here. Like it's like nothing that I can do that,
Right.
it's just like anything that I can do to keep his name alive. And you know what works for
Right.
me too? And it's not a good thing because this might be depression, is I dream of him a lot. But it's you
Okay.
so of course I have to be sleep to dream. So I
Right.
always want to
Right.
like at 10 o'clock, like the other night you
Mhm.
called, like at 10 o'clock, I'm going to bed because
You was
I
ready to
need to
shut it
have our
down.
meeting with him. He's coming.
Right.
So I have to be
Right.
I have to be at my spot. So I dream a
Hey,
lot about him
it
and the dreams are
works.
vivid. Yeah, the
And
dreams are
that's what.
vivid
Right.
and I'm going to bed at 10. I don't care what's going on, you know? So and that's how I'm keeping, that's how I'm
that
doing.
works
How
for
about
you.
you, Ike?
Yeah.
That's the thing with me. I try to keep him in the presence. I'm always talking about stuff that me and him did together. You know, all kind of crazy things and stuff that I remember, stuff that I probably had forgot about, and I just bring it
Right.
up and talk about it. And you know, I just try to keep him relevant in my
Right.
life because I got so many memories that
Right.
Yes.
you know
You can
I
hold
just
on
feel
to.
my day with just thinking about all of those memories and just keeping it relevant. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Mhm.
Right. Well,
yeah,
I thank you guys so much. It is my honor to have you guys here. I forgot to push the live button in the beginning, but it doesn't matter. I think we got a lot of content in still. And I love each and every one of you. I would like for us to, Dion, I'm always in touch with you. I'm going to be checking on you now. You're going to be getting like random texts. You're going to be like, what's wrong with this girl? But I'm going to be
ain't
sending
nothing
you.
wrong with it.
I'm going to
Ain't
be
nothing
sending
wrong
you
with
random texts. We go way back as well. And I think the
Yes, we
best thing
do.
that the best thing that we can do for our children is to keep living. And I know that's what they would want from us. They would want us to keep living because as long as we live, they live through us. And I think that's what's
Amen.
most important. So let's just
Amen.
love on them, love on
Amen.
love on the mental and the emotional connection we have with them, and we just never will let it go. And again,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
thank you guys. And what I'm
Thank
hoping
you.
to do, what I'm hoping to do, eventually, I would like to do an event in Atlanta. In the next year or so, it's gonna take me time, and maybe bring people together like us and have an event, like a little outing, have massage people there and music and food, and we can just do what we're doing now and talk and share our stories and our growth. How about that?
That sounds excellent.
Okay.
Keep me
Well,
posted.
thank you.
Ike, you take care of
I
yourself.
will.
I'm
Love
always
you
All
here.
right,
You
guys.
gotta be
you do the same. And
And
it
I
was nice
have
meeting you.
a little slide I'm gonna put up. I'm not endorsing it or anything. It's just a slide. I came across a website that I thought was pretty good information on it. I'm gonna get ready to share it really quick, and then I'm gonna sign off of the show. Okay. And thank you
Okay.
guys.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Here, give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull it up. Are you all able to see it?
No,
you
ma'am.
all, you all probably can't, but they should be able to live.
Okay.
The compassionatefriends.org, and they have really good information on there regarding coping skills and things of that nature. I'll send you guys the slide. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Take it easy. All right.
All righty.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.